Hi, and thank you for watching this video on how to use mindfulness to address stress as a student. We are born with a clean state of mind. Through the years, we start to collect preferences, ideas, opinions, to-do lists, issues, and problems. They all start to kind of accumulate in the mind. Somewhere along our life journey, we reach a breaking point where we feel like our brain is about to burst with so much stuff. This is the time we need to try to make sure we are making sure our mind is, we're using mindfulness and not that our mind is full. When our mind is full, as you'll see in the right photo, it's messy, sad, overwhelming, unproductive, and just plain not good. Mindfulness, on the other hand, is calm and nice, almost like eating a warm chocolate chip cookie, if you like chocolate chip cookies, but that nice feeling that we get. When our mind is full, the future is what we're focused on. Whereas being mindful is focusing on the now, being present in everything that we are encountering at that moment. When we have our mind full, it adds to-do items to our list. Every time we check one off, we're adding two more. Mindfulness allows us to enjoy each moment, each task, each event before planning the next one. So, do you think that you can achieve the left, mindful, or do you think you're going to be stuck with that one on the right when your mind is full? Maybe we can get to something at least in between, right? So today we're going to learn some inversion. We're going to take our shoes off. I want you to be prepared to get into the following poses as we practice mindfulness, because honestly, isn't that the only way to de-stress? You have to do yoga and meditate and all of those things. I'm totally joking. I'm going to have you start singing Kumbaya and meditating while using this inversion to clear your mind and distress. I'm going to discuss how and why stress affects our bodies and some important things that we can do to address it as soon as possible. Not to say that yoga and inversion are not good things. They're excellent things, but they're not the only things that you can do to make sure that you're being mindful and addressing stress in your life. So let's talk a little bit about the biology of stress. A stressor is the stimulus or a threat that causes stress. That can be something like an exam, a new class, a paper that you have to go through, that you have to complete, divorce, death of a loved one, having to move houses or locations, or loss of a job. Any of those things can cause some stress. Sudden and severe stress will generally produce an increased heart rate, increased breathing. You'll see your lungs will start to dilate, a decrease in your digestive activity where you just kind of either don't feel hungry or want to eat all the time, where you might have heard people that stress eat, emotional eat. You also may feel like liver is released in liver releases glucose for energy, so that energy you may either feel like really jittery, or you may feel like just depleted of all energy when you're stressed. The stressor activates your hypothalamic pituitary axis, and then that hypothalamus stimulates your pituitary gland, which secretes something called ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. That ACTH stimulates the adrenal gland to produce the hormone corticosteroid. That cortisol enables the body to maintain steady supplies of sugar. And adequate and steady blood sugar levels help a person to cope with that prolonged stressor and helps the body to kind of return to normal. The adrenal cortex releases stress hormones, and that's called cortisol. And that has a number of functions, including releasing stored glucose from the liver, which I told you is kind of for energy, and controlling like swelling after an injury. The immune system is also kind of suppressed while this happens. So the cortisol helps the body to respond to stress. It's sometimes called as the stress hormone, cortisol. That's because levels of cortisol in the body spike during high times of stress. Steroid hormones that are a category of hormones that are synthesized naturally in the body from cholesterol. Collectively, they can carry out a wide range of functions in the body. And that connection between that hypothalamus pituitary gland and adrenal gland forms the backbone of the body's stress response system. Levels of the hormone cortisol rise and fall naturally during the day. So when do you think cortisol levels are going to be at their lowest point? That's at night, usually around midnight, because you're kind of in the middle of your sleep. From there on, the levels of cortisol begin to rise. Cortisol reaches its highest level in the body early in the morning, peaking around 9 a.m. and before beginning to decline again throughout the day. And a lot of times that cortisol is spiking at 9 because that's when people are beginning their traditional day of work, and they're thinking about all the things that they have to do. So what we're seeing is that kind of stress level is highest in the morning when we're getting ready to do all the things we have to do for the day, and they're at lowest when we are in our deepest states of sleep. So I get asked the question all the time, is stress always bad? Stress is not always bad. We have good stresses and we have bad stresses. Eustress is a term that was coined by an endocrinologist, and the word eustress consists of two parts. The prefix eu, which is derived from the Greek word meaning either well or good, and when it's attached to the word stress, it usually means good stress. And that's where you'll see on the right where there's a little bit of a happy face, and from that type of stress. I find it, and then distress is going to be the opposite. And distress is when you've got that pain and that anxiety, that sorrow. You'll feel more acute physical or mental suffering. We all kind of have the distress, and we do have eustress, but we tend to focus on that distress. So I want you to also give some good attention to that eustress and try to embrace that eustress. I find it funny when people focus on techniques to eliminate stress from our lives, because I think that's pretty much impossible. You can't get rid of all stress or even reduce the potential for outside events to bring stress into our lives, because we just can't control everything. The one thing that we can control is ourselves and our control over our reactions to the stressful events. Try to look at it like becoming more stress resilient. Building resilience is a complex endeavor, but it only requires us to actually feel the stress we are currently going through instead of disassociating from it. Sometimes we have to fully experience our discomfort before we feel motivated to make any types of changes. Some reflections on stress that I want you to think about. How do you typically respond to situations of stress, whether it's good or bad stress? Do you allow yourself to sit with the stress and use that stress energy constructively? Or do you feel overwhelmed and, oh my gosh, depleted by the stress and towards a state of panic or just physical or emotional withdrawal? Remember that feeling and dealing with the situation will help you to use the stress to your benefit. You should use it as you get that cortisol when we are going through stress, and you can use that cortisol for the energy component and get things done. The acute stress, when we're talking about bad stress, there are two types of bad stress: acute stress and chronic stress. Acute stress is resulting from specific events or situations that involve novelty, unpredictability, a threat to the ego, and they leave us with a poor sense of control. This on-the-spot type of stress can be good for you because the stress hormone release helps your mind and your body to deal with the situation. Some of those stressors can be like almost getting in a car accident. So it's like, oh, you know what I mean? Like you get that jolt of you had to slam on the brakes. Or giving a speech in front of people where you're like nervous, but you're exhilarating and you've got that kind of stress that you're going to present. You also you kind of feel your heartbeat in your throat. You become hyper aware of everything around you, and you can feel just pumped up. These are signs that your stress hormones are hard at work, good work. Chronic stress is the stress resulting from repeated exposure to situations that leads to the release of stress hormones. This type of stress can cause wear and tear on your mind and your body. Many scientists think that our response system was not designed to be constantly activated. So if we're constantly dealing with stress, that overuse may contribute to the breakdown of many of our bodily systems. Whereas good stress may push one to achieve their goals, meet their targets, and lead better fulfilling lives from the success that's achieved as a result, it's that bad stress, that acute stress, that it can cause problems if not well managed, and it can develop into chronic stress. If you're dealing with things that cause chronic stress, maybe that drive to work, that annoying boss or coworkers, bad work schedules, difficult spouse or friends, poor sleep habits. These are things that you can look for ways to address that chronic stress during that drive for work. What are we doing? Are we focusing on how much we hate the traffic, how much we hate the drive, how much we wish we didn't have to do this, and that's making us walk in thinking we hate our jobs? Or are we looking at ways that we can use that stressful drive to work to help us? That could be maybe listening to a book on tape, if that's something you enjoy, listening to calming and relaxing music, laughing, enjoying ourselves in the car. All of these things are things that we can do to look at those chronic stressors and flip them a little bit, to use that time and be mindful and present about that time while we are that is causing us the stress. How stress affects the body. Did you know that stress is a natural physical and mental reaction to all our life experiences as they come? Everyone experiences stress from time to time. Anything from everyday responsibilities like work and family to serious life events such as a new diagnosis, war, the death of a loved one. These can all trigger stress. For immediate short-term situations, stress can be beneficial to your health. It can help you cope with potentially serious situations. It's like that kind of fight or flight. Your body responds to stress by releasing hormones that increase your heart rate and your breathing rates, and it readies your muscles to respond, gets you ready. Yet, if your stress response doesn't stop firing, it's constantly firing, and the stress levels stay elevated far longer than necessary for survival, it can take a toll on your health. Chronic stress can cause a variety of symptoms and affect your overall well-being. There are so many ways that stress can affect your body, and this graphic probably highlights some of the lesser known effects of stress. And when we look at it, look at how it affects our entire body. Our hair, high stress levels may cause excessive hair loss and some forms of baldness. Our brain, stress triggers mental and emotional problems such as insomnia, headaches, personality changes, irritability, anxiety, and depression. Our muscles, we might feel like we're having these spasms and pains in the neck and the shoulders all over our body when we are under stress. The digestive tract. Stress can cause or aggravate diseases of the digestive tract, including gastritis, stomach, and ulcers. The skin. Some individuals react to stress with outbreaks of the skin, eczema, psoriasis, acne. The mouth ulcers, and excessive dryness are symptoms of stress. The heart, cardiovascular disease, and hypertension are associated with accumulated stress. Lungs, high levels of mental and emotional stress adversely affect individuals with asthmatic conditions. Reproductive organs. Stress affects the reproductive system, causing menstrual disorders and recurrent vaginal infections, women, and impotence and premature ejaculation in men. So it totally is affecting our entire bodies. According to the Center for Disease Control and the National Institute on Occupational Safety and Health, the workplace is the #1 cause of life stress. And for those that are not working, the school. The CDC reports that 110 million people die every year as a result of direct result of stress. 110 million people every year. That is 7 people every 2 seconds that are dying as a result of something that is stress related. The good news is that at Rasmussen, we are invested in making you aware and helping you to become a more well-rounded person and giving you tips on overall wellness. Being a student is a balancing act. You're balancing many roles typically. You're not usually just a student. You might have family obligations. You might have work obligations. You have community obligations. All of these things are compounding you and causing stress. So you have to create the best balance for you. Perspective is really, really key. I'm going to read you this poem called Worst Day Ever. And first I'm going to read it one way, and then I'm going to read it another way. Today was the absolute worst day ever. And don't try to convince me that, because when you take a closer, and don't try to convince me that there's something good in every day. Because when you take a closer look, this world is a pretty evil place. Even if some goodness does shine through once in a while, satisfaction and happiness don't last. And it's not true that it's all in the mind and the heart, because true happiness can be attained only if one's surroundings are good. It's not true that good exists. I'm sure you can agree that the reality creates my attitude. It's all beyond my control. And you'll never in a million years hear me say, today was a very good day. Now I'm going to read that same poem to you from the bottom to the top, the other way, and see what I really can feel about my day. Today was a very good day. And you'll never in a million years hear me say, it's all beyond my control. My attitude creates the reality. I'm sure you can agree that it's not true that good exists only if one's surroundings are good. True happiness can be attained because it's all in the mind and in the heart. And it's not true that satisfaction and happiness don't last. Some goodness does shine through once in a while, even if this world is a pretty evil place. Because when you take a closer look, there's something good in every day. And don't try to convince me that today was the absolutely worst day ever. What's interesting is that I read the same exact words. It was just my perspective. How you assess a situation is key to how you feel and respond to the situation. Similar to what most of you have heard as looking at a glass as half full instead of half empty. So always be mindful of your perspective. Does the perception that stress affects health matter? The association with health and mortality was published by the American Psychological Association. The result was that if you think your stress is having a huge impact on your health, it likely is. In a study of 180 million adults, individuals who perceived that stress affects their health and reported a large amount of stress had that increased risk for premature death. The good news is you can control this by changing your perception of a stressful event to a learning experience or even a new challenge, and you'll avert some of those long-term health effects. So it's all in how you're looking at it. When you're evaluating your stress, you want to distinguish between daily hassles and life events. You may think about your commute or your morning routine, like I talked about, as stressful, but how can you utilize that time in a way that you may enjoy or benefit? It's all about perspective. Dimensions of wellness has been looked at. Sometimes you'll see 6 dimensions of wellness, 7 dimensions of wellness, or 8 dimensions of wellness. I'm going to focus on the 8 dimensions of wellness. You want to determine how you can support all of these dimensions of wellness for yourself every single week. Now, you may not be able to do every one of them every day, but maybe choose 1 or 2 to focus on to support your weekly wellness until you are seamlessly integrating them into your life. You've got emotional wellness, which is how you cope with life and have satisfying relationships. Financial wellness, which is your satisfaction with current and future financial situations. Social wellness, which is developing a sense of connection, belonging, and a well-developed support system. Spiritual wellness, which is expanding our sense of purpose and meaning in life. Occupational wellness, which is personal satisfaction and enrichment derived from one's work. Physical wellness, which is recognizing the need for physical activity, diet, sleep, and nutrition. Intellectual wellness, which is recognizing creative abilities and finding ways to expand your knowledge and your skills. And environmental wellness, which is occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that support your overall well-being. So, like I said, pick some things in each one of these dimensions of wellness and determine how you will integrate them into your life. So let me give you a few basic tips. First, know that you're made up of 70% water. Our whole body is made of 70% water. So if you lack the required hydration, you're putting your body into fight mode, which increases the levels of stress hormones. Water also relaxes you. It relieves you from things like depression. It helps with attention deficit and sleep disorders. Remember, we talked about cortisol being the stress hormone. Studies have shown that dehydration leads to higher cortisol levels, that stress hormone, making it harder to deal with your everyday issues. By staying hydrated, you will be better equipped to deal with everyday problems. So sometimes just stop when situations are stressful and drink a large glass of water. It'll help. Second, power naps. 10 to 25 minutes boosts alertness and motor learning skills. 30 to 45 minutes boosts memory and enhances creativity. 50 to 75 minutes enhances your overall problem-solving skills. So take a few minutes and just take a nap sometimes. Third, smiling and laughing. Even if you're only pretending, it tricks your mind that you're happy, and it signals your body to produce happy hormones. It lowers your stress level. So just despite your circumstances, find a reason to smile or laugh, or just do it. Have you ever been in just like a really, really bad mood and you walk around and somebody smiles at you and you can't help but smile back? Use that. I attended a training on laughter therapy. And I'll admit, when I signed up for the training, I thought it was a big bunch of junk. And I laughed all day in anticipation of the training. Like, this is going to be so crazy. But it proved to have some validity to it, right? But I was still concerned. Laughter therapy aims to get people laughing in both group and individual sessions, and it can reduce stress, make people and everybody happier and more committed, as well as improve your interpersonal personal skills. How many times have you been in a bad mood and you watch something and you laugh, or you just do something and where you enjoy yourself and you feel like rejuvenated, even though you had no energy prior. Maybe you didn't even realize there's a correlation. So look for those things that you can do when you are feeling those high levels of stress to make you laugh or smile. Some stress is triggered by a notion of having very limited time. We all have very limited time, but it's how we manage the time that we do have. The Mayo Clinic gives quite a bit of advice on time management. Time management, when done effectively and thoughtfully, can help to reduce stress significantly. What makes it work is avoiding the common trap, which is scheduling everything as if it were of the same importance. This is seldom productive and only serves to increase the amount of stress that people feel when they're working or when they're going to school. So in order to manage time, you might want to first realize the importance of time as a resource. Squandering time is not effective, and if tasks are not prioritized in a logical fashion, squandering time is the inevitable outcome. It means in the end that important tasks are treated the same as unimportant tasks, and because of that, there's no real benefit to even trying to manage your time. So when you think about looking at your assignments in your class, how can you manage that time with your daily life? If you don't prioritize, it'll be impossible to manage your time. So what things daily are most important? Be conscientious about your activities and choose only what's best and worthy of your time. Make your list, prioritize, and then manage your time. Make sure you focus on activities that add more quality to your work and personal life. We all have heard the saying, time is money, and it's particularly relevant here. Literally visualize time as money to effectively budget your time relative to the importance of the tasks at hand. The very important tasks are worth the more amount of money. For instance, would you spend $500 on tires for a bicycle that you very rarely rode? Probably not. But spending that much on high quality tires required for safe winter driving or safe driving in the rain is certainly sensible, because you're utilizing that daily and it's putting yourself in a safe situation. Time has to be managed in the same way, with the same mindset that not all tasks are of equal importance. These are some awesome tips that you can use for mindfulness. Approach everyday things with curiosity and savor them. Forgive mistakes, big or small. Practice compassion and nurture connections. Show gratitude for good moments and grace for bad ones. Make peace with imperfection inside and out. Embrace vulnerability by trusting others and yourself. And accept and appreciate that things come and things go. So the key takeaways for today is that you cannot eliminate stress, so use it to your advantage. Find a way to achieve each area of wellness and integrate it into your life. Drink water, take power naps, and smile and laugh. Everything is not worth the same amount of time. So list, prioritize, and then manage the list. View time as money. Take a look from a different angle. When we look at this photo, it's the same object, but different perspectives and angles. So remember, I told you that perspective is key. Step away if you need to and come back to reassess. Don't spend energy just overthinking things and ruminating on them. Remember, taking that step away, take a nap, relax your brain, get some water, smile and laugh, and then come back and look at it with a new lens. All mindfulness techniques are a form of meditation. So use the mindfulness techniques that you already know, and that will help you to meditate through your body. What does it mean to be intentional? It means you are purposeful in words and actions. It means you live a life that is meaningful and fulfilling to you. It means you make thoughtful choices in your life. Being intentional means you actively interact and engage with your life. Don't let your to-do list rule your life. You rule your to-do list. In reading an article on some of the top regrets of the elderly and those that were dying, the three main themes were that they wish they had focused more on being happy, they wish they hadn't worked so much or had worked smarter, and they wish they had spent more time doing things that they enjoyed. Figure out how to accomplish this. Sometimes you have to walk away from something and come back. That could be a person, a project, or a deliverable within a project. Just walk away, take a moment, and come back with fresh eyes. Thank you so much for taking this time to address how we can use mindfulness to address our stress. At Rasmussen, we want to help you improve yourself and maximize your potential. Use this guide to help start yourself on the path of your personal development and growth. Please take some time to explore the tabs on growth mindset, stress reduction, positive attitude, goal setting, and meditation. These are some stress awareness resources that I'd love for you to take a look at. And if you have any additional questions, reach out to us at Rasmussen. We're here to support you. Thank you so much.